show. Sorry we're running a little bit late, but some of the hosts had mental, technical difficulties. I was late. I was running late. I am OLED, and I'm joined by the one and only, the natural Pizarro. And we are joined, thankfully, by our wonderful guest, SCW Steve from the SCW Wrestling Channel, where he does lists at every pay-per-view opportunity he can of what's the greatest match, or what is the greatest, in this case, SummerSlam, as you've done before. You just watched, in a watch-along version, you just watched the Brett versus Owen from, I believe, 1994 from SummerSlam, correct? The big blue steel cage?
That's the one.
He does fantastic work. We love being on his show. We thought once we should bring him on our show.
Well, I can tell you, it's a privilege to be here, and I thank you for both having me. And funnily enough, last year on my channel for the Great American Bash, you were both guests. We were all talking about the show last year. So to have me this year here, honestly, it's a privilege to be on our local establishment and to be collaborating with you both once again.
I thought about that on Tuesday. We were talking about it. I'm like, we were on his show last year, and it was pure happenstance. I didn't even realize it until literally Tuesday. I was like, oh wait, didn't we talk about this show last year together too?
Yeah,
very much. It's meant to be.
It is. Yeah. The great things are always meant to be. Brett versus Owen, the heel turn on the Shield, the third man in the NWO, and the three of us talking about the Great American Bash.
Absolutely. Shall we reveal the news from now? I signed a 4-year contract, so I'll be here for the next 4 years. We'll all talk about the Great American Bash once again.
There we go. We're locked in. Steve broke the big news. 4 years, me, Astrid, and Steve. No matter what channels we work on, we're going to be doing this every year for the next 4 years.
Absolutely.
Let's see if any of us remember it. What are we thinking going into this show? What are our thoughts going into the show? Do we expect a great show? Do we expect a lackluster show? Steve, what are you thinking?
Honestly, looking at this card, I'm actually quietly optimistic. If you talked about the main event, obviously we've had Carmelo Hayes and Bron Breakker for the last 2 big shows. Carmelo Hayes and Ilja Dragunov, for me, hasn't been built as strongly as what that previous rivalry with Breakker and Hayes was, but at the same time, they're both fantastic workers. On the night they're going to deliver an incredible performance. And to be honest, it feels like it could be one of the unpredictable main events in NXT history because of the fact that there is so many possibilities going forward. So much in the rumor mill. Obviously, the rumors, we say rumors. We've seen Carmelo Hayes recently on SmackDown with Trick Williams for Bobby Lashley. There has been rumors with Ilja Dragunov to go with Imperium. I know that's like dirt sheet, kind of like under the radar, but I did see yesterday, I believe, I saw on Cultaholic, which I know probably isn't the official source for it, but apparently Ilja Dragunov apparently not interested now in being a part of Imperium. But of course, I mean, he's not the one that makes the decision, so we have to wait and see what will happen going forward. But one other thing that could be interesting is that Money in the Bank floats around, and there is another member of Judgment Day that's already on this show defending a championship. So there's many possibilities and lots of excitement with many other championship matches, stipulation matches. I think that this really has got a potential to be one hot show for NXT.
Astrid?
Yeah, just what I feel is like half of the card is predictable and the other half isn't, which is funny to me when you see the matches, because we see like Corbin and Gable, we already know like probably Gable's going to win it, but then we have other matches like Tiffany and Thea that they have built in such a way that they could go either way, honestly. I'm like, we wouldn't be surprised if Tiffany does retain, but if Thea does win, I think it'll be a huge surprise as well. I think it's something similar with Blair and Roxanne as well. It's like it could go either way for me, which is what I like about it. Versus like we have like Metaphor and I was going to say Dragon Lee Nathan and the ladies. It's like I feel like that one's another one that could go either way as well. So it's like you never really know. But it's just exciting to think about all the things that could happen. We don't know what's going to happen moving forward. And that's going to end up building from here up to No Mercy in September. So that I think that'll give us direction to where it's going out.
Yeah, and as Astrid just said, we did get clarification that in September we are getting No Mercy. I love how NXT's just been given all the retired pay-per-view names. Yeah. We've got Vengeance Day, we've got In Your House, we've now had the Great American Bash, Halloween Havoc. Now we're getting No Mercy. I'm like, great. As a vintage wrestling fan from the old days, it's just so great to see these names coming back through.
I feel exactly the same. Obviously, as well, the idea of what potentially questionably could be the greatest wrestling video game ever in No Mercy. The fact that it's been brought back now with NXT and the banner for me is exceptional. So I'm very happy.
Yeah, we got the Chris Parrish jumping in saying hello, and he says a very important show for NXT as post SummerSlam call-ups are to be expected. Going to be a show worth watching. Absolutely. And we got Tino's Gaming 2023 coming in. Hello, Tino. I believe this is of Tino's time. Great contributor to the SCW Steve channel on those lists, as well as Astrid and I. If it's not, let me know, because otherwise I just gave Tino a plug either way.
I'm very grateful for it.
But we're going to go ahead and jump into the first match here. Astrid just brought it up, so we'll go ahead and talk about it. The pre-show match. I have it labeled as Metaphor versus a bunch of lads and lasses. This match has been well built, but I still feel like I don't care. Because I don't care about 3/4 of Metaphor.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's the people in the match. It's not the build-up about it, though, for you.
I don't know if Steve knows this. I don't know how closely Steve watches Taking Over. I'm not a fan of Lash Legend.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, I check out content when I can, and I have seen comments before. To be fair, I'm not the biggest Lash Legend fan either. I mean, obviously, you got to be creative. The Lash part, fair play to, but I mean, I think it goes back to the talk show with me. Obviously, production WWE is very, very good at, and obviously when this NXT was first put together, it feels like I don't know, something about it was not clicking with me. In ring, yes, she's very green, but of course that's what NXT is all about. It's getting people to get that experience, to build themselves up to one day to becoming a top star. And I mean, to be fair, when it comes to talking, I think that is the strongest asset still at this point, but at the same time, I'm not the biggest fan either of Lash Legend there. But I'm interested to know which one of the four you are interested in, Ed.
I like Noam Dar. I think Noam Dar still has money to be made. He can go from being a fantastic in-ring competitor to, even while playing dead, he has been incredibly entertaining with the loss of this cup. The fact that he's treating this cup like it's a relationship that he's now broken up with. It's such easy stuff. Like, he's just lying motionless. But to lie motionless while other people are around you talking, to lie motionless while you're thrown into the ring, to the point where I questioned whether or not it was a doll or not. Like, he's done fantastic work building this without really, until this week, saying a word.
I have to agree. To be fair, I've not always been the biggest Noam Dar fan. The thing is, for me, is I think he's a good in-ring competitor. I've never took that away from him. I don't know. I just found myself, I think it's the Supernova Sessions. I've never clicked with that talk show segment. It's just never been for me. But like you said, the last few weeks of him sort of like been motionless each and every week, I found myself like you say, he's not said a word, yet he's said everything that you need to for this story. So he's actually been arguably the MVP of this entire 8-person tag match that we've got coming up.
Do we feel NXT, and I'll start with Astrid on this one, do we feel like NXT's dropping the ball with Dragon Lee? I've heard rumors of people claiming that because he's not getting big wins in matches, or mostly wins at all, do we think NXT's dropping the ball with Dragon Lee?
I know, it feels like such a tough one because he just started, so you don't expect him to get. Then it's not always going to be wins from the get-go. You always have to build people up from the ground up, and maybe that's the way of them doing it, and kind of give him that personality so people can relate to him. And I feel like that's what he's building right now. They're kind of like having that connection with the people, and I feel like the storyline does help when it's like a comedy kind of thing at first. It does help you gain, their interest at first. So I think that's why after this, I hope we just get something like more consistent, because I feel like if we do get him versus Nathan, then I feel like it's a little bit too predictable, because not only did that happen already, but it'll be too predictable for him to, like, let's say, turn heel on Nathan because he wants a cup as well. But I'm like, do I want him in a tag team with Nathan? I like it though, but I don't want that moving forward for him either. I want him to get something focused on himself. So I'm hoping that after this is over, even though they're friends, they kind of stay as friends, but he goes on his own route and he does his own thing there. So that's the thing that I'm looking forward to after this is over.
Steve?
I think they have partly dropped the ball, but there is still time to catch it. It's not bounced yet. I think that's where we are with Dragon Lee. Astrid's very well said is that it's still very early days into his NXT run. There's plenty of time for him to evolve, to get his push, to get the wins that are needed. He came in a fantastic way with that 5-way at the Stand and Deliver show. Yes, he didn't win, but I thought he looked incredible in that match. And of course, in ring, he's one of the best, I think, in NXT. His entrance is incredible as well. I love the way they showcase him when he's coming to the ring. It's very creative, it's original, and I think that he's got the ability to really stand out. The only problem is the wins loss column that's you've already mentioned, and I mean, especially with it being on these NXT specials. I mean, this is the place where everyone shines. This is the place where the next breakout star could be made, and it feels that Dragon Lee not having those wins doesn't help. And on this show, he's on the kickoff. And yes, of course, look, we're fans, so we will voice our opinions on it. But of course, I know wrestlers would much rather be on the kickoff than not be on the show at all. But for someone of Dragon Lee's experience going around the world, whether it's been in Japan, Mexico, he has done some work in AEW as well. This guy has got all the tools to be a top player in NXT, and certainly for me, after this is finished, I want to see him start moving up the card because I'd say if in the next 3 to 6 months, that ball will definitely drop completely to the ground, and we'll have to wait and see if it bounces or not.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it, like Steve says, I don't think it's dropped completely, but they're definitely not on the right track just yet with me. While I've loved seeing what they've done with him and keeping to the Dragon Lee persona that you've seen everywhere else, it still feels like it's a step behind. He feels like he should be in that North American title picture with Dominic Mysterio and people like that. It feels like he belongs in the conversation with Ilja Dragunov in a potential match against Carmelo Hayes down the road. Those are the kind of matches I want to see Dragon Lee in. No offense to Nathan Frazer and Noam Dar. I don't really need to see him trying to win the Heritage Cup.
I agree.
If you want to showcase this guy, you want to showcase him in 10, 15-minute matches that are complete through. And the rounds matches that they have him in don't really do what's best for him. Who do we think's going to win? We have Dar Amazing jumping in and saying he thinks that Metaphor is going to win. Steve, who you got?
So obviously this is revolving around the Heritage Cup, and as a British rounds sort of way that it's done, and me being British, I'll be controversial and say I'm not a massive fan of the Heritage Cup. So I'll throw that out there for everybody. But I think that this is something that the non-Heritage Cup holder should have something to gain here. So for that reason, I'm going to agree with the comments there. I'm going to have Metaphor to win this match. I'm not sure if Noam Dar is going to get the pick over Frazer, or if it will be done with, say, Lash Legend potentially getting the pinfall on one of the ladies. We'll have to wait and see. But for me, I think it makes more sense that the heels win, because then that way it builds up for the inevitable Razor versus Shawn, the Santos versus Jordan Devlin, the who is the true Heritage Cup holder. And I think that's what they're going to do with that. And obviously previous different titles of the other people I've mentioned. But still, that's I think that's where the storyline will be going for me. So I expect Metaphor to pick up the win here. They are the complete unit after all.
Chris Perez jumping in saying Noam Dar will pin Nathan Frazer in his opinion, and he can see Dragon Lee being called up to the LWO. That's a possibility. He talks about Ray and Dragon Lee a few weeks ago when they brought up all those NXT stars. It could be going to a match with Dirty Dom Mysterio. Astrid, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely going with Metaphor. It feels like they're more stable, even though like the other team, they're friends, but they're not really a team per se like that. They're just like two teams put together, if you think about it like that. But I feel like the heels definitely need the win in here more than anything to give kind of like that incentive for Noam Dar to go after the Heritage Cup and go after Nathan afterwards. Who gets the pin in here? I feel like that one's the only difficult part for me. I wouldn't know who to pick in here, but I definitely wouldn't want Nathan to get pinned, but also wouldn't want Dragon Lee to get pinned. So that's why it's challenging for me in that aspect. I feel like it could be easier for the ladies because they don't have anything going on for themselves right now. And maybe the girls celebrate and just go, look, no, I'm Dar. We just got you the title shot for the Heritage Cup by having, the win over the other team. So something like that I could see moving forward, and not like bragging that they got Noam Dar that title shot like that again. So that's what I could see moving forward. But I definitely feel like Metaphor should win this one.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, I agree. Metaphor needs to win this because I think Noam Dar needs the win. And we've talked a little bit about the Heritage Cup here. I think whatever Noam Dar's Heritage Cup rematch is, I don't think it's a singles match. I think for potentially the first time ever, and we talked about it a little bit when I was in the comments on Steve's channel, for his review that you can go check on his YouTube channel, where he talked with Juggernaut, 97, I believe it is, was your guest, Justin from Juggernaut, that there could be a triple threat match for the Heritage Cup. And I think it'll be between Dragon Lee, Noam Dar, and Nathan Frazer coming up. Maybe as late as No Mercy, but hopefully within the next couple of weeks. That's my guess. But again, clean sweep premise for Metaphor in the kickoff show. We're going to move on to what I think is going to open the show, the real show. Dominic Mysterio versus Wesley versus Mustafa Ali. You can call them all by 3 names: Dom, Wes, and Ali. NXT made the most gigantic leap by putting the North American Championship on Dominic Mysterio at a point where nobody thought he was going to get that championship. And it's such a great solution. It has skyrocketed the NXT ratings, where Dominic pulled in for the first time since they were on Tuesdays, 700,000 viewers on that show when he won the championship. Our own review of last week's show has hit almost 100 views with Dominic on the cover. Last night, Dominic had one of the best Twitter things, and we'll see it in an upcoming Up Next, where a question was asked of him of whether or not he would reunite with his father. And he says it keeps him up at night, but unfortunately his father's no longer here. Rest in peace, Eddie Guerrero. Ice cold, dirty Dominic Mysterio. You don't need any more build than this. This match has been perfectly built, even throwing Dominic in last minute. Astrid, what do you think is going to happen here with the North American Championship?
This is definitely a tough one for me, because I feel like they probably keep it on Dom because of the way that ratings are going and the way he's basically on every show promoting NXT by having the championship on him. But at the same time, it's like I liked Wesley's reign. I didn't want it to end. That's the only part that was bittersweet for me after having Dom win. And then I'm like, I would have liked Elite to have a championship in NXT and have something moving forward. But I feel like his presence in NXT is not going to be there for too long, so I probably wouldn't put a championship on him. So I would say for now, because maybe I'll change my mind later, but I think definitely they'll keep it on Dom somehow. So far, mentioning it now, JC Jane did tweet a video that she will be there at the show, which prompted Rhea to say, I'll be at the show too. So if Mommy's at the show, Dom's getting away with that win for sure.
Steve, what about you? What are you thinking about this match?
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, if we're talking about the show here, it's amazing to think in 12 months what's happened from Dominic Mysterio to where he was to where he is now. Because like you say, the rating he pulled in to win that championship and it to be one of the best booking decisions WWE has made in a very long time. Because if you look at the mid-card on the main roster right now, Gunther en route to becoming the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Dom can't go in that area right now, and that's where he should be on Monday Night Raw. He's not supposed to be on SmackDown, so Austin Fury's kind of ruled out, but the fact that they kind of flirt with the main roster talent going to NXT, there was one babyface champion that could take an L and could get Dom pretty much the heat that would get him even more heat than he's had for quite a while, and that's winning the North American Championship. And from this point onwards now, Dom is a heel that no one lets talk, and also now will want to see him get beat even more. Not only do they want to see him get beat, they're going to want to see him lose that championship. It feels like old school wrestling for you right now, because you're literally seeing what you'd see through the 70s, the 80s. This is a guy that everyone literally hates. They want to see him get beat up, and it's something we don't see a lot nowadays, because the heels are cool and we like the heels because, well, we're meant to be marks, aren't we? That's what we're meant to be. We're like, this person's a heel, whether it's whatever company, wherever you go, you may dislike them, you boo them, but you go and say all positive things. Dom gets just literal boos and gets like booed out of the building. It's proper old school and it's great to see. Poor Wesley, like you say. Wesley, I got told was the longest reigning North American champion of all time. Amazing run as well. Great open challenges, 4 ways, 5 ways, you name it. Wesley would put that title on the line and come out and still be the victor. Wesley, for me, is built himself up, not just the North American Championship, himself up in that time since Halloween Havoc last year. I think he's ready to go for the big time. I would say that he should be someone that could be perhaps challenging for the NXT Championship after this match. Mustafa Ali, Poor Mustafa. He's been built pretty well going into this, but since Dom's come into the equation, he feels like he's a little bit forgotten. I still think we'll get the singles match with Wesley and Mustafa Ali after this, but I can see that's where the friction will be because Mustafa Ali's not happy with Wesley for taking the match with Dom where he lost the championship. So I imagine that Dom will find a way. Rhea Ripley, of course, accepting the challenge on behalf of Dominic Mysterio. That one day will bite, and that will lead to more friction with the Judgment Day when they're ready to do it. But at the same time, here and now, it's Dirty Dom's time. WWE would be foolish to take that title off of him because the longer he holds it, the more people are going to want to see him lose it. And the more they're going to see him lose it, the person that does it becomes a bigger star. Even if in the NXT ranks, they become a much bigger deal instantly.
Absolutely. We got Chris Parrish saying Dirty Dom pins Lee and Lee turns on Ali after the match. Dar Amazing says he wants Ali to win this. He needs it. Dom's a heel. We're supposed to boo the heels. Like it's a lost art in wrestling that we boo the heels. And you know whose fault that is? It's the fault of one man and one man alone. It's Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's Stone Cold's fault. We booed the heels all the way up to Stone Cold. And he changed the game when it came to heels. I think this is going to be an absolute fire. This could be match of the night, to be honest. This could be the opening match of the main show, and I think it could be the match that seals the show. I'm going to go a little bit differently here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and say that we do have a new champion come the Great American Bash, and I think it's Mustafa Ali.
I like it. Ali is due. He is due a big time moment, a championship run in WWE, whether it's the North American Championship, the NXT Championship, even the Heritage Cup. I want to see Ali doing something, and I think that he's definitely getting more TV time, more time to have better matches. When he was on, was it Raw, SmackDown as the free agent recently? You know, he was getting some wins, but the matches are short. This is for me a good chance on NXT for Ali to have almost a second chance to really break out, really go forward, and hopefully when he does go back to a Raw SmackDown, will be treated like the deal he was when he came up in 2019, you know, when he was having the great matches. I believe Fastlane with Daniel Bryan, may have been Kevin Owens in that match as well. I can't remember who was joining that triple threat, but Ali for me is a great talent, and if he was to win it, great for him, but obviously you've not swayed me enough. I've got to stay with my Dirty Dom. My Dirty Dom? The Dirty Dom. Rhea's Dirty Dom.
Astrid?
Yeah, I'm sticking with Dom. I have a feeling that Rhea is gonna help, but I think later on, it's gonna end up being that factor of like she got him into this predicament to begin with, so and then he's starting to like doubt her a little bit. It's like the second time he doubts her now, so I think that's gonna be a factor later on. But I'm sticking with Dom on this one.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw people bringing it up online. He's starting to questioning her decisions lately.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that's going to turn bad for Dominic Mysterio at some point. You don't question mommy. When mommy says something, that's it. You don't ask no more questions. You just listen to mommy.
Yep.
Note for you kids. Listen to mommy. But yeah, we're going to move on to, I think, what could be the next match. I kind of have these in the order I think they're going to appear. Weapons Wild between Blair Davenport and Roxanne Perez. As the women's wrestling expert here on the channel, Astrid, why don't you go ahead and give your thoughts on this match?
This one I'm excited for because like I said, months ago, I've been waiting for that moment we get a more aggressive side of Roxanne, and I feel like we got a preview of it when she wrestled Cora, but it wasn't entirely there. And I feel like Blair, like in the storyline, has brought up a little bit of it. And I like that callback to the Stone Cold Booker T supermarket brawl with Booker T being her mentor. So I think it's just, and she even said herself, she's like, this is just a preview of what you want me to be like, what the people want me to be like. So that's when I think adding the weapons, I think I'm just excited of like the possibility of seeing that aggressive side of Roxanne in here. I mean, we already had Blair beating her, so that's why I really want Roxanne to win this one. If it had been the other way around, I would have wanted Blair to win this one. But since it's their second meeting, I would like Roxanne to get that revenge on her and then see what happens after that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this. And I'm like, I know Blair is definitely one that when she gets to be aggressive, she does bring it up. And with Roxanne, we haven't really seen that. That's what I'm looking forward to the most.
Dar Amazing has an interesting question, and I want to go ahead and bring that one up. We've got what kind of weapons do you guys think we'll see in this Weapons Wild match? Steve?
Kendo sticks, There's always a kendo stick. It's born with any weapons match these days, but maybe some chairs, maybe a table. Last time we had a weapons wild match, it sort of featured quite a few of those ones. Of course, that was Tegan Knox and Dakota Kai. I believe that was would have been Takeover Portland was the one just before the pandemic. It was at the start of 2020. I know that much for sure. But yeah, so I mean, I don't remember one happening since then. But Weapons Wild for me, I think it's going to be a fun time, especially with these two ladies. And great from what Astrid said just a minute ago there as well. I mean, you can see even in the graphic above our heads, the change in demeanor there with Roxanne Perez. And I'm a big Roxanne Perez fan. I'm looking forward to seeing the character direction as it continues going forward, and particularly with Blair Davenport as well. Obviously, fresh on the roster, both got a lot to offer, and hopefully there's some original spots that they're giving to them with the weapons in this match.
Yeah, I think there's a whole bunch of different things they can do. I hope they go light on the kendo stick since we just had a kendo stick match. It's not how a kendo stick match works, NXT. If you want to watch how a kendo stick match works, go watch Alexa Bliss versus Bayley. Just turn it off as soon as Bayley gets the kendo stick because it goes downhill real fast from there. Do we think that we're going to have another Bayley versus Alexa Bliss here where we have a babyface who doesn't know how to show aggression too well and gets caught with the will we, won't we moments?
I hope
Do you
not.
think Roxanne's going to go over just fine and be all right?
She's done it before. We mentioned there the match with Cora Jade. She found that already. So I think now that she's got an even more aggressive streak in her, I think that she will be fine in the match. But is it going to be enough? Ed, we spoke about it the other day. There might be a theory here with what might fall into my prediction. But Roxanne, I think, is... should I go ahead with the prediction or should I hold back for the minute?
Absolutely.
I don't know whether to tease the viewers or keep them holding on, but I've got a funny feeling if you go back in history and watch the last Weapons Wild match that I can remember anyway, the first one, there was someone that stopped revenge. Of course, it was Dakota Kai versus Tegan Knox. Tegan was looking to get that revenge after War Games, and Dakota Kai got herself some backup. And that was Raquel Gonzalez in the match. Of course, there was a horrible-looking chokeslam for a table spot, I believe, that finished that match off as well. Now, obviously, I reckon Roxanne will probably look to get the revenge here. Blair Davenport, of course, attacking lots of people in the parking lot. She's got lots of people that will be going against her when they return. One of your favorites said Nikita Lyons will be one of them. Wendy Chu, obviously, will be there also. Sol Ruka. There's plenty that will be going for Blair Davenport in the future. And it just depends how they want to wrap things up. But that's what makes me think that Blair may have some backup, because she was asked if she was the NXT Anonymous after the Roxanne and Booker T backstage segment. Now, I didn't have a name at the time, but when Ed, we were speaking previously, we mentioned the name Stevie Turner. Stevie Turner's been absent off of TV for a little while. Obviously, I think as well someone that is the social media content creator person that could do that. So, I mean, if she's someone that can do some streaming and not have any repercussions from WWE, then she's certainly got the equipment to put things in place in NXT. She certainly can fit that hacker gimmick kind of well. So I think that Blair Davenport will pick up the win via some backup.
Astrid?
Now you made me think of Steve because of this, because you made me think back of like the Battle Royal in itself, because Tatum sacrificed herself for Blair Davenport that moment, and we haven't seen anything ever since of them being connected. So I do wonder if that's going to become a factor moving forward, because we've mostly seen Tatum in like backstage stuff, like when the girls on the locker rooms like watching the TV. I think Kiana was watching Gigi with her Instagram thing, and Tatum was in the background, but we haven't seen any progression in that part of the storyline. Of like, it was just like, oh, she sacrificed herself for Blair, and that was about it. And there was really no explanation towards it. It was just that they were done and nothing else. So I do wonder if maybe that will be the little part that comes a little factor, I guess, towards the match. But still, I'm sticking over with Roxanne. I think it's her time to like really show a new side of herself, and just show that aggressive side we haven't really seen entirely from her. And that's what I want to see more than anything. And like you said, we also have Stevie Turner. She has been in the live shows that I've seen in the Florida Loop recently. So you never know if they're going to bring her back anytime soon. But she could be the other factor towards it. But I definitely would like to see Roxanne being the victorious here.
I'm going to go with Steve on this one. I think we're going to have Blair Davenport win. I don't think it's going to be just Blair Davenport that gets the win. Yeah, I think that she's going to come with a purpose and with a backup, and I'm not upset about that because of the fact that Blair, I think, could be the future challenger for an NXT Women's Champion. I think Roxanne's time in NXT is starting to come to an end. I wouldn't mind seeing her put up a great fight. Maybe get a little bit of color in here, maybe a little bit of blood, and then have Roxanne get called up post SummerSlam and have her go because she's ready. She doesn't need much more time. I think once they get the fact that she can have this vicious side to her, I think the sky's the limit for her on the main roster, especially working with the talent that they have up there. When you have Bayley, when you have Io Sky, Asuka, Charlotte, Bianca. Yes, I'm putting her directly on the SmackDown. We're not dealing with this Raw side. I'm putting her directly on the SmackDown side to just further increase the greatness of that SmackDown Women's division. But I think Blair gets this win as we move forward because I wouldn't mind seeing in 3 or 4 months after maybe No Mercy having Blair Davenport as champion and then have these stars slowly start returning and coming for the queen, coming for the woman on top who took them out. So you have Nikita return first because she's the closest to coming back. We heard today that Wendy. We heard over the week that Wendy Chu is not close to coming back. We know Sol Ruka's still got another 6 to 8 months with her recovery. So there's people that need a little bit more time. But I wouldn't mind Blair Davenport having a storyline or two with some of these women as they come back and having her as the champion when they do it. Because it gives all of those people instant credibility at being championship contenders. And that's what this women's division needs is storylines for how people can become championship contenders. Because while they have a strong women's division who's learning, there's not enough veterans in that women's division to get them over the hump. And that's where Blair Davenport's going to come in handy as being that stabilizing force to be able to bring good matches out of some of these younger talents who need it.
I like it.
We got Dar Amazing saying Blair Davenport. Parrish earlier said Perez, but he thinks Blair needs it more. We also have Dar Amazing saying, what about a trash can? Maybe a bag of Legos. This is an interesting one. What if Miko was the attacker? I think Miko Satomura is going to be used incredibly lightly in NXT. I think I was shocked to see that she came back to wrestle Roxanne Perez, period. After she lost the title to Mandy, I thought that was going to be it. I didn't think we'd ever see her again. Her direction is teaching. Her direction is learning at this point. She was brought on when she was brought into NXT UK. She was specifically brought in as a wrestler for a short period of time. She was the final boss. But she was also intended to be a long-term coach there to help stabilize that. And I have a feeling as soon as NXT Europe gets off the ground, she'll be back to being the head of the women's coaching over at NXT Europe. Yep. But stranger things have happened. In the match I think we're going to talk about the least, we have Gable Stevenson versus Baron Corbin. I'm going to ignore one of the people in this match and completely talk about Baron Corbin. I think he's been incredible with the direction that they've taken him since they brought him to NXT. He came in and immediately targeted Carmelo Hayes. And he had a great match with Trick Williams. He had a great match with Ilja Dragunov. He had a great match with Carmelo Hayes. And then he had those vignettes where he was burning the gear, where he's talking about making a change, that all these gimmicks have held him down, that he was the one left as the scapegoat when Raw had bad ratings. It was his fault, and he got fired as Constable Corbin. All of these things, he burned the past, and he wanted to come back anew. And we're going to finally see the new Baron Corbin come this Sunday. And you know what? I'm going to go out there on a limb. This entire card is me going out there on a limb. I'm going to say Baron Corbin wins. I don't want to see Gable Stevenson in my NXT. I don't want to see Gable Stevenson in my WWE. I don't want to talk about this man if I don't have to. Go back to the Olympics and do your thing, buddy. Go back to college and win another national title in Minnesota where I don't have to listen to you. Corbin for the win.
Yeah, this was definitely a tough one because I definitely don't like Gabe. If I could not pick him winning, I would definitely not. But it's just like he's the new, like, fresh, like, shiny toy in this aspect of like NXT. and then being like the name that he is, being Olympic gold medalist, and all that, all the buzz that they have going if he does stay here. That's what makes me think of like he's gonna win. I wish I could pick Corbin. Don't get me wrong, because I love Corbin so much, and like you said, it's like I love what they've done with him in NXT so far, and I was so excited thinking I can't wait to see what this new character is for him, and then he comes out and confronts him. I was like, it went downhill from there for me. I didn't want this for him at all. I know they can do so much better than him than this matches. I feel, especially because if it does go with Gable winning, I feel like the match is not gonna last too long, which is like it goes back to like what Corbin was saying in his promo not too long ago. So just like I don't see the point in having him in here. So it makes me kind of mad that he's here. But I wish I could pick Corbin, but it's gonna be Stevenson, whatever his name is. I don't care.
Gable.
Gable, I don't
Steve, she's
care.
picking you to beat Baron Corbin and Gable Stevenson. How do you feel about that?
I reckon I can handle them. I'm not going to lie to you. I've got a suplex or two in me. But no, I'm going to keep this one very brief. Obviously, Baron Corbin, you mentioned already the great work he's done since coming to NXT. He is someone, in my opinion, that looks like a new character is coming, but it's not fully in motion as of yet. But he's a safe pair of hands, and he is a big name to put against Gable Stevenson for a first proper match in NXT. Obviously, they must have big plans for him, whether people are for it or against it. I guess that's WWE is still going to go ahead with those plans, but yeah, Gable Stevenson to pick up the win.
Yeah, and Perez brings up a good question here. What if Damon Kemp costs Gable Stevenson here?
I would love that, please.
I mean, I'd love to see more of Damon Kemp on TV because at least he's the Stevenson that I don't have to ignore. So I love that. But
Yep.
by the way, if you're curious at all about why I keep saying this, just search Gable Stevenson. You'll find it. It's not hard. All right, and more happier topics. We're cutting their heads off a little bit here, but we've got the Gallus boys on top versus the family, the D'Angelo family. Tony D's back. Tony D's having a good time. Him and Stacks are here to challenge for the NXT Tag Team Championships. Steve, what do you think about this match and the build to it?
I mean, we can't argue. Gallus boys are literally on top up there. But yeah, for me, I've enjoyed the build with this. I think that it's been a long-running storyline. This one seems it's gone since before Stand and Deliver, which is great to see in NXT to have these long, thought-out storylines. The commitment as well with Tony D when he's been in prison, the way he sort of built the beard up and stuff and looked rougher and stuff even when he first came out. So for me, I've enjoyed the. How can we say the roles, the commitment to them? Everyone's played their part really, really well. Channing Stacks Lorenzo for me has been quite an MVP if you want, despite looking a member like the Spirit Squad for half of the time. But at the same time, I do feel that we could be getting new tag team champions here. I've got a funny feeling that Gallus have had a good run on top, but I think that I'm not 100% sure if they were connecting as well in NXT as what they were in NXT UK. Perhaps maybe you both could enlighten me on that of what you feel. But for me, I feel that Tony D and Stacks, their time is now to win those tag team championships, unless Stacks is really fooling everyone all along and really does want to become the boss to cost Tony D. That could happen later down the line. I don't see it happening here. I reckon new champs at the Bash.
Astrid?
Yeah, definitely want to stick to Tony and Stacks in here because I feel like it would be the great payoff to the storytelling and like the plan in itself, and just making the plan go to perfection from then, fooling Gallus to, winning Stacks winning the match. So I think that would be the great way to end this storyline. I am not necessarily a fan of Gallus per se. I definitely prefer Tony and Stacks. I love how their characters have developed on screen with us so far since they started NXT. And I think it'll be fun for them moving forward to be champions and kind of when the next challenges come in, kind of pay them off. You're like, no, you don't want to go against us, and kind of pay them off for something different for them too. So I think it'll open up a little bit more for them to get some experience and do something different with their characters too. So that's the part that I'm thinking more than anything. I think they could be entertaining as well, like they have been the last couple of weeks with this whole and Tony going to jail and everything. I'm glad Tony's free now at least, and then he can move forward with the championship gold.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys that I think that this is an opportunity to put the tag team titles on our new competitors to go ahead and build. We got a brand new team in Bronco Nima and Lucien Price, who are doing a lot of good things over in NXT right now. I'm very excited to see what their future could be. I think this is another spot where we could have a call up, post SummerSlam call up. I wouldn't be surprised to see Gallus get called up. I mean, can you imagine Gallus versus Sammy and KO? Gallus versus the Usos. Run it back one more time. Gallus versus the New Day. Gallus versus the Viking Raiders. See, all the matches that I want with Gallus are all on the main roster. They've run through this division, and they've done it in an entertaining fashion. They haven't had a bad match for these tag team titles. And they've, like Wesley, have taken on all comers in all sorts of matches. Triple threats, tag teams, four-way matches. They've done it all. There's no reason why they need to continue to be down here in NXT. Bring these guys up, put the tag team titles instantly on them, and just start having banger matches with everybody. You can get the looks with Imperium, where Imperium give an evil eye, and you can tell a little bit of a story there, because I think that's something fun with that. All kinds of good stuff here. I wholeheartedly think that Gallus wins this match. Perez saying, I love Gallus, but I think Tony D gets his moment and wins gold. Yeah, I do. I agree with that one. NXT could be the land of redemption if both Dom and Tony D hold championship gold. What a great story from two former criminals. And don't forget, you've got Booker T on commentary. He's got a second chance too, because if everybody wants to go back to that terrible storyline with Triple H, where they almost did the right thing and then they didn't. There was a storyline there where Booker T had gone to prison and come back. And it's been in his documentaries for his WWE character. His character has gone to jail. Whether or not Booker T himself has or hasn't, I don't remember if the real Booker T has. But the character sure as hell has. So you've even got him on the outside to do it too. I think it'd be fantastic. Dar Amazing says, yes, Tony D and Stacks for the tag team champions. This is my potential match of the night. This is that little match that could steal the show, but it's got that back and forth. But like Steve said, Gallus hasn't captured the minds and hearts of the NXT crowd. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what they're missing. Maybe it's just a UK thing, that these are the Gallus boys. And it seems like a lot of UK people don't like Gallus for one reason or another. They like to hate them. I know our favorite friend Mark Talks Wrestling. He loves his Gallus boys. He loves talking about Gallus on top.
Sure.
I'm being very sarcastic right now. But no, I think they've done a fantastic job. They've had these titles a lot longer than people think. And they've done a fantastic job basically wrestling everybody in the division. They've wrestled the Creeds. They wrestled Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. They've wrestled JBBJ. They've wrestled against Tony D and the family. And they've had all of these great matches. There's no reason not to take these titles off of them and give them something else to do. So, and if it were me, like I said, I'd say bring it up. Now to my potential heartbreak of the night. Tiffany Stratton versus Thea. Astrid, why don't we start with you here?
Like I said earlier when we were starting the show, just this one's one of those to me that could go either way. I think either way I'll be happy with it. I think it'll be fun to like kind of swap everybody by having Thea as champion. I think it will be a good surprise. But also I feel like it will hurt Tiffany at the end and her character if she does end up losing. First she tapped out even though the referee didn't see it, and now losing to Thea. So that's why it has me torn about it. But it's definitely tough to pick a winner on this one. I feel like they have built up Thea in such a way that it gives me the hope that she could win, especially with the last kind of like video package that we got this past week. The build up that they have with her from the start. When I remember like she was picking her colleges and I told her she's gonna pick Chase U, betcha. And then when she put that hat on, I was like, well, see, there it goes. And seeing her going from like I don't know what college to go to being part of Chase U this whole time, and now and the way they talk about her and the way she's got introduced in NXT to what where she is now. I think it'll be cool. Plus, having her be the youngest champion too, I think it's something that I could see they be wanting to do because they like to do those kind of records of like longest reign and the youngest one and the oldest one. So it's like you never know. But I feel like it will hurt Tiffany at the end. It's like what's going to be her excuse if she does lose to Thea? So I think that will be maybe the storyline moving forward afterwards. So I'm definitely torn about it right now.
Steve.
I first off want to say that these two women are unbelievable with their character work. They know their roles and they play it to perfection, and they stand out on the roster. They really do, and they've made this feud work really, really well in the time that they've put it together. Obviously, this is what was Tiffany's first major championship defense at Gold Rush. Fear winning the Battle Royale. Obviously, they had a bit of a confrontation as well with the celebration that Tiffany originally had as well. Thea had Tiffany beat. She had tapped out in the match, but the referee wasn't present, so it didn't count at that moment. Since then, obviously, we've had the Chase you all together screaming rematch, 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 and we finally got our way here. And these two ladies get the ability to showcase another great wrestling match as well as their characters, and I think they're going to do a fantastic job in doing that. I think we potentially should be looking at a new NXT Women's Champion because Thea has the Kimura lock that's been given to her by Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. However, this match is a submission match. It favors the challenger and doesn't favor the champion. I am not familiar with Tiffany Stratton using submission holds to pick up victories. If there is one, I've missed it. So for me, this looks like Tiffany's in trouble, which tells me everything that Tiffany is retaining. Because I've got one of two scenarios potentially it could play out in this match of how it could happen. Because I said Tiffany's not a submission specialist. We could get a same scenario again with the referee being knocked out, the Kimura lock put on, Tiffany tapping out for Mercy, not no Mercy, but Tiffany tapping out for Mercy. And obviously at the point where Thea will probably go and celebrate because that's her character going crazy, probably picking up the championship, only for a moment where she'll probably get knocked out for whatever reason. And because she's unconscious, Tiffany could any hold on. The referee comes back round, sees she's unconscious, rings the bell. There we go. Tiffany retains. That's my option one, probably the more likely. Option two, kind of what I want to see. I want to see earlier in the evening a backstage segment with Charlie Dempsey, Drew Gulak, and Thea Howell. I want to see forgiveness, a handshake, and saying, we've talked the Kimura. You've proven us that you can do this. Look, go and do it. We support you. Again, same thing kind of happens to the final third. Referee knocked down, Kimura on, Tiffany's tapping out. Again, the celebration. However, this time, something goes a bit wrong. Tiffany puts on a submission hold, but Thea is not knocked out. The referee is checking what's going on. Charlie and Drew Gulak come to ringside, attack Duke Hudson and Andre Chase, who are probably at ringside, take a towel and throw in the towel. Classic Bob Backlund Iron Sheik from 1980, whatever it was. I'm not that good at historical references, sadly. But yeah, that's going to be what I want to see. But one way or another, I'm going for Tiffany to pick up the win. And I think it will be, well, not like Dominic Mysterio, but it'll be a bit dirty.
We have some comments coming in here. Dar Amazing says, drinking game. Drink every time Tia Hale tries the Kimura lock. Oh, I don't think I have enough alcohol for that. By the way, the world's worst Kimura lock too. Let's just say that too. Tia Hale will come up short in this match, despite her size. She will win the championship. We have Chris Parrish also saying, "I want to see Drew Dempsey and Chase U all banned from ringside." I think that's a possibility too. Yeah, I was gonna say the Owen during the Backlund Bret Hart match, that was fantastic. That's how I think that this match plays out. I think that they end up attacking Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey end up attacking Duke and Chase, and then the towel gets thrown in. I think that's how Tiffany Stratton does this. I also want to correct something because you guys keep using an incorrect term here. Tiffany Stratton did not tap out at Gold Rush. She brushed her hand across the mat a few times.
Sure.
We have this from the first-hand source, Tiffany Stratton saying she did not tap out. So correction there. Just want to make sure that we're all clear. She didn't tap out.
I should apologize. The mat was too high when she was brushing her hand out. It sounded like she was tapping. I blame the mat as well.
It's absolutely the mat's fault. It's entirely the mat's fault. I just wanted to make sure that I reiterated because I do think Tiffany will be going to the Tiffy top. I don't know what submission hold she's going to use, but remember, Stone Cold Steve Austin had been long forgotten from using the $1 Million Dream when he went into his submission match with Bret Hart. And that's one of the greatest submission matches of all time. This ain't going to be that. Let's just get this clear. This is not going to be one of the greatest submission matches of all time. But I do want to see how good this can be because we have to talk about how wonderful these girls have worked and how hard they've worked to get where they are. Neither of them seemed like they were going to be women's championship material when we first saw them.
Yeah.
I've hated Thea Hale from the moment she popped up on my TV screen. I haven't liked her since day one. I still don't like her.
That's true.
But I can respect that she's getting better and better. She's becoming a more involved character, a more full, thought out character. And at the end of the day, they've told the story to let her win the NXT Women's Championship. However, it'll be a cold day in hell before I predict that she wins the NXT Women's Championship. So I will pick Tiffany Stratton to win this match because, again, it'll be a cold day in hell before I predict that Tia Hell wins this championship.
I'm definitely picking Tiffany, and I was thinking, what if she does like Kimura like herself, just to show off to Thea that she can do it better than
Nice.
Thea?
I wouldn't be surprised because, like Steve said, she's never really done one, or never done one of consistency.
Yeah.
I suspect her to do a bunch of different ones to try to figure something out. I think she might settle in with I think she might settle in with the sleeper hold, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I think putting somebody like Tia to sleep would be storyline, as Tia's the Energizer Bunny who just goes and goes and all the energy in the world. I think it's definitely an idea to go ahead and try to put her to sleep. I was nodding along with Steve, and Steve got me on something where he talked about the forgiveness from Drew Gulak and Charlie Dempsey. I had that exact same video package in mind, but them in Tiffany's locker room and teaching Tiffany a submission hold for the match.
Wow.
Because I think you can put them on opposite sides and build to a 6-person tag between Duke and Andre and Thea versus Charlie Dempsey, Tiffany Stratton, and Drew Gulak.
Works for me.
I understand. So Parrish put this comment. Can we see a heel turn from Duke where he pulls an Owen here and throws a towel on Tia to turn on Chase U, which leads to the Duke versus Tiffany versus Andre versus. I think you can understand where everything was going, and the chat could read the chat. But yes, I agree, Chris, that there's definitely a whole bunch of Owen versus Brett stuff in here. Shawn Michaels is a student of the game, and all of this stuff could come into play. Or it could just be fun stuff for all of us on the internet to talk about, and they just do something basic. You never know.
Yeah.
Speaking of things being basic and just doing things the right way and just taking a short build and making it feel important, the main event. Carmelo Hayes versus Ilja Dragunov. I have had 3 different matches in my head for the main event of this show. This is the third of them. At one point, I was certain we were going to get Damian Priest versus Carmelo Hayes, potentially with a cash-in for the NXT Championship. I also was certain that we were going to get Finn Balor versus Carmelo Hayes at the Great American Bash. We've got neither, but we've got Ilja Dragunov. This match has been built to perfection. They have taken a short period of time and made this about respect, intensity, and 2 guys just wanting to be champion. Neither's really a heel, neither's really a babyface. Because Ilja will do whatever it takes to get the job done, and Carmelo Hayes is known to have Trick Williams on the outside to break the rules. On top of that, I said it last week. Remember the words that Ilja Dragunov used. Friendship and loyalty. I have a bad feeling that Trick Williams is going to cost Carmelo Hayes the NXT whether he means to or not. He is going to cost Carmelo Hayes the NXT championship, and we're going to see Ilja Dragunov lift that championship and become, I believe, the first British European born. No, Finn Balor. Never mind. Finn Balor did it too. But most recent European-born NXT champion. I'm all sorts of out of whack today. Steve, what do you think about this match?
I'm looking forward to it from an in-ring perspective. I think that both have shown month after month, show after show, they can deliver fantastic matches. I'm sure the chemistry there between them both will be insane. Like you say, though, the match that felt the most sense to put for this show was Carmelo Hayes versus Finn Balor. Finn beating Carmelo twice on the road to this show. But of course, we didn't get that. Of course, Finn arguably being, if not the greatest NXT champion of all time as well, he's had 2 fantastic runs previously, would have been a great way to cement Carmelo Hayes as the guy in NXT for the long haul. But that's not the match we've got. And to respond to what you said a minute ago, I really hope they don't do the Trick Williams Carmelo Hayes thing. I can see it, though. This is the worst part. I can see where you're coming from, Ed. And I hope it doesn't happen, because I think Carmelo will be fine. I worry about Trick. I like them. There was a duo. I think they work so well together. Think of your any favorite combination. They kind of they have that with them. And I will go with Carmelo Hayes to retain. As I said at the start of this stream, I wouldn't be surprised if either of these guys were going to be on a Raw or SmackDown come after SummerSlam. I wouldn't be surprised either if there was a cash-in via Damian Priest. Personally, didn't think about it when I was doing my own stream. Then it was brought up to me afterwards, and I was like, that could happen. Because if Finn was to win at SummerSlam, Damian was to cash in here, Dirty Dom, the North American champion, and Rhea, the women's world champion, the whole group has championship gold, and Judgment Day would really feel like arguably the biggest stable in WWE at this point. So it's not something I would completely rule out. However, I just believe for me that Carmelo Hayes, although potentially could be called up to the main roster anytime and shouldn't remain NXT champion if he's to do so, I do think that his time to be called up is not just yet. So I'm going to go for him to retain.
Yeah, I think that Melo definitely has a few more weeks and months ahead of him. We talk about the him era and the reign that he's had. This reign's only been 2-3 months. He only won the title in April at Stand and Deliver. I would hate to see him get called up right away. I would love to see him get another 6 months and be called up via the draft. I think that's the best way to call up Carmelo Hayes, is via the draft or the Royal Rumble. I think he's a surefire Rumble surprise entrant, even though nobody's going to see it as a surprise when he pops up in the Rumble this upcoming year. Ashley, what are your thoughts on this main event?
Yeah, this one's another one that has been torn, because I do see, like Mark even called it from the get-go with us. I do see that part of Trick being, like you said, whether or not he means it, being that factor in there, and having Dragunov be champion, and as Dragunov ended the shows like with the loyalty line. So that has me always, always sparked in there. And also thinking about, does Carmelo get called up after we see him backstage with Bobby Lashley? That's why it has me like definitely in the middle about this one. I wish this run would have been not exactly, but like similar how it was for the North American Championship, but like seeing Carmelo be this way and be so dominant for a few months. Because like you said, it's only been since April. It feels like it's been longer than that, but it hasn't been, which is incredible to think about. I think it will be fresh to have Dragunov be champion. We could be so many other people going against him now. And it just feels like Carmelo has done everything that there is to do in NXT. So it's like I do see him getting called up sometime soon. I'm like, do you see it happening now, or more towards headed towards No Mercy and like later on maybe? That's what has definitely like in the middle about it. I definitely want Carmelo to retain, but I think it'll be interesting moving forward, having him versus Trick and seeing how that plays out on NXT on a weekly basis between both of them.
Do we think that this is going to be match of the night?
Could be. It has the potential to be, of course. I mean, every match in its own right does. I feel like what you said in the stream, the triple threat match. For me, there's almost not been an NXT special show where Wesley hasn't stolen it for me in the last 3 or 4. He probably since Vengeance Day and Stand Deliver and the last one, Wesley matches for me have been the matches I've enjoyed the most. So I'm going to go for that as the match of the night. However, I do think there is about 3 or 4 good candidates on this show. Hayes and Dragunov certainly is one of them as well.
Ash, what about you? Match of the night.
I feel like that definitely is a possibility. The way that Steve was saying, like I think West is definitely one of them for sure. Um, we always have, that North American Championship match is always one of the great ones too. And then I feel like the tag team match could be a surprise one that could be great, and we didn't even think about it at first too. So I think definitely will be one of the top matches for the night.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, like I said earlier, and like Steve agreed, I think that that opening match, that triple threat for the North American Championship, has almost guaranteed show stealing written all over it as match of the night. It all depends on how much time they give that. If they don't give it enough time, and this being a big card for an NXT show, NXT shows are normally 2.5, maybe 3 hours, and this show's awfully booked for a 2.5, 3 hour show. So hopefully they didn't go a little too overboard. But yeah, I could see either the opening match or the closing match stealing the show on this one. Steve, tell the good people more about yourself, what you do on your channel, and where we can find you.
Thank you. It's very kind of you. And just say a big thank you for having me on as well. It's been a pleasure to be on here today with you both. And you can find me on YouTube, SCW, the Wrestling Channel. Type in the search engine and you'll see my logo and lots of different videos available. Predictions, reviews, retro reviews, now retro watch-alongs that started this week. But I love a live stream. I love a live Q&A. I've always been known as the Q&A guy. So if you want some questions answered, hop into a live stream, get yourselves involved, and happily give you a shout out and answer your questions. And from time to time, you'll get the privilege as well seeing Astrid and Ed both appear on my channel. They've been in a number of videos that I've done in the past, so feel free to go and check it out. You can see on the bottom as well, I am on Instagram, on Twitter as well. So look at those links there on the bottom of the screen. Type them in, give me a follow, and I'll make sure to follow you back and give you a bit of interaction as well. And hopefully see you all again very, very soon. But big thanks to Ed and Astrid for having me both on. And make sure to follow, subscribe, and do all the good stuff because you both do wonderful work together. And it's always a privilege to watch your show, even more of a privilege to be a part of your show.
And before he goes, I want to go ahead and give him a chance to go ahead and throw out some great stuff that he's doing this week. He has a Q&A and predictions. He has a Q&A show for SummerSlam with Ella J coming up this week. I saw that in my reminder feed of things I need to notify me on. And then also he's going to have a SummerSlam prediction show coming up, I believe, Thursday, I think.
Thursday, I've got that lined up, yes. With 10 p.m. UK, 5 p.m. Eastern.
Astrid, where can the good people find you this very
You can find me everywhere now. Blue Sky, Threads, Instagram, Twitter. You can find me again on Tuesday doing Taking Over with Ed. And then tomorrow night, super excited for the Great American Bash post show. Looking forward to that more than anything. But yeah, that's all I have for the moment.
You can find me on Twitter. I don't need no blue skies. I like my gray skies. I don't need no threads. I got a nice new shirt right here. I don't need nothing new about that. You can also find me on my Twitch channel, EdFries2002. That's the home of all my gaming content. You can find me playing Marvel Snap. You can find me playing WWE 2K23, Marvel's Midnight Suns, a whole bunch of other stuff. Hopefully soon in the arrangement, as Baldur's Gate 3 is coming out soon, and I might be investing a little bit of money into that to play that. But again, we just wanted to thank Steve so much for being here. It was great to have you on our channel for once. So again, please make sure you go check him out on Instagram at SCW The Wrestling Channel, on YouTube at SCW The Wrestling Channel. That is also a link for that in the YouTube in the chats right now. The link should have gone through. And of course, on Twitter and or X, you can find him at SCW_Steve, I believe.
That's true, yes.
So thank you all for joining us. We will see you all tomorrow night. We'll see you then. Have a great night. Goodbye.